Welcome everyone to a brand new TV show spoiler review here at Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Diddenberg, and today I am breaking down not just the season finale of Euphoria, but the series finale of one of the biggest shows of all time, especially for HBO, Euphoria. This is season 3, episode 8. The title of the episode is In God We Trust. So this is a full spoiler review. If you did not check this out, the episode is an hour and a half long. Go watch the episode, then come back here because we're going to talk all things spoilers for this finale for Euphoria, starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. Here are spoilers. And overall, guys, I found this episode to basically sum up this season of the show. There were definitely some unbelievable performances in this episode, especially from Coleman Domingo and Zendaya. There were emotionally moving moments when Rue was kind of going through her last moments of life. Very emotional stuff, especially the scene with Fez that they did not use in season 1. They brought back here. Really emotional stuff. It's well made, but on the whole, I was very underwhelmed. Really, the truth is unsatisfied with this episode. And because so let's just get to the big part. I'm not going to break down each step. It's been taking too long. I just want to break down my general thoughts here. And so they made the decision to kill off Rue in the first 30 minutes of this episode. Rue escapes the Nazi, Laurie's home, and it looked like finally she gets a pat on the back from Alamo, but gives her the fentanyl laced with something. I forget what it was laced with, but she goes back to Ali's, and we think that she is doing better. She feels good. She's finally done. People are getting arrested. Finally, it feels like Rue can finally live her life, but she gets basically there. I don't think it was the idea that she got like hooked back on these drugs. The fact that what they gave her for the pain was also laced of something that was going to kill her. And obviously Alamo, and they thought it couldn't be traced back to us because she's a drug addict, and they'll just think that she OD'd on the drugs. But they have Rue sitting on the couch sleeping, and she wakes up and she's, oh my God, Fez is out of prison. He did the parkour that I told him he should do, and I need to go pick him up. She goes to the old, Fez's old spot in season 1. We go through Rue's home. She reunites with her mom, but then we all realize that this was all I wouldn't say a dream, but really was a dream of Rue's last gasp of her life. That this did not happen. She did indeed die on that couch. And here's what I'll say. For the episode that we got where they went with the fact that Rue died, and the last 45 to an hour of the episode is just us sitting in the death of Rue and how that's affecting everyone on the show. I'll say this, I really do stand by that this was not the right decision. And clearly, this probably is a big reason why Zendaya did not want that big of a impact on the show behind the scenes. If you guys are not familiar, Zendaya has been a producer on the first 2 seasons of the show. She's like the only one also but she's no longer a producer on the show anymore. And we've been getting these behind the scenes videos every single week of the show, and we get the entire cast but Zendaya. She was the only one who did not participate basically in these behind the scenes videos breaking down the episodes. And based on this, clearly I feel like this was what maybe was the turning point for Zendaya not wanting to be as on involved with the show, because I basically reports where there were some major disagreements between Levinson and Zendaya, and seemingly this probably is what it was. Levinson wanted to kill Rue, and I don't think Zendaya probably wanted that to be the end of this character, and I stand with that. I don't think it was satisfying to kill her. And the point that was made in the behind the scenes breakdown in that New York Times podcast as well by Levinson after the episode came out was that they wanted to treat this like a real situation. That yes, sometimes people can turn it around, but also sometimes people just die in these situations. And while that's the case, And the excuse of, well, this is a real story we're telling. I'm being honest, Sam, and this is my opinion too. 95% of this season did not feel like legit, real situations that any of these characters were going to be put in. And then to be like, well, we're making a raw, real show. I just don't agree with that because that a lot of this season and a lot of this episode just felt very over the top, ridiculous things for shock value's sake. Like, we literally had like a Tarantino like action set piece, which was a good action set piece, but doesn't really fit the show at all. With Coleman Domingo going into the strip club and killing Ali, excuse me, I said Coleman Domingo, Ali. But I just really passionately disagree with ending the show with Rue dying. This is really why I think they should have just left things off where they were at season two. Um, I still stand by that. I don't think they should have ever come back for this season. And if they were, this is just not a satisfying ending. It just felt like Rue has been through enough on the show. And she finally got herself out of this situation. Like she got herself clean. She There was real progression there in this season. She got herself out of this conundrum with Alamo and Lori. She's sleeping with on Ollie's couch. She believes in God. And then just to kill her, and it wasn't really because she herself overdosed. It really was because the fentanyl got laced of stuff. I find it to be extremely unsatisfying. I think that's going to be the divisive part. If you are someone who is okay with Rue dying, then I think they did a good job executing the impact of Rue's death, especially for Ali in this episode. But even with that, we did not see Rue's family react to her death. Storm Reed was not in this season at all. Leslie, Rue's mom, was in maybe 30 seconds of screen time in this entire season. Nika King, I can't believe they had her back for the behind the scenes video. She may have been on set for an hour based on what they shot for her in this season. We didn't get her impact of it. And because they focused so heavily on it, it just felt like the remaining ensemble felt like it was a giant waste of time this season. Jules was a total waste of space in this season, and I'm not saying that because I've always not been the biggest Jules fan, but Jules, the character, and obviously Hunter Schafer deserved way more than this. She just painted emotionally Rue in this episode, and that was about it. She was barely in this season after being basically the second lead of the show in the first two seasons to being such an afterthought. Lexi, afterthought. And then you have the Cassie and Maddie stuff in this episode where they both kind of seem lost. They have that emotional scene at the diner together. But Maddie goes back to Alamo, and it gets very, very creepy, I would say, with Maddie and Alamo. Cassie's back living her life, but now she's by herself in that kingdom of that mansion that her and Nate live in. Um, I did think my favorite scene of the episode was Cassie and Lexi, where that really summed up the sisterhood that they have, which is that they are very different people. They really don't, go together really at all. Lexi's giving this a very emotional speech about Rue and how she went to the Bible and just the fact of all of the guilt that she had with the last conversation she had with Rue. And Cassie plays a lot of it just like for she's like, oh my God, the new Bible or this or that. And she just lays it like she was a drug addict. It kind of makes sense. And Lexi's beating her out, letting her heart out for this scene. And Cassie really isn't there for her in this moment. And as someone myself, to be open with you guys, like I've dealt with a friend from high school who died a couple years ago, not to an overdose, but of his own doing. I'll just say that. Because I don't want to get into specifics. And I myself went through a lot of that, like month or two after it happened, went through a lot of guilt of what I could have done, what I should have done since the last time I saw him. All of these things came running back. And I agree. And I thought they did that beautifully, what I was feeling, I guess, in that moment a couple years ago. It's what Lexi was doing in this episode. But outside of that scene, I thought it was a beautiful ending, actually, where Cassie we get that the miniature version of now she's living by herself in this very miniature part of her. I thought that was very well done, having the miniature house and all of that stuff. But we get the shootout between Alamo and um, Ali, where Bishop switches sides and protects Maddie and gets her out of this situation. Maddie gets to keep all of the money and gets to move on, basically. But yeah, and they end on Ali. He goes back to, he says this is his last therapy, his last day with everyone. He's like, you gotta make the world a better place, or you make it worse, and I'm gonna make it a better place. So he kills Alamo, and he goes to that secluded, not ranch, but I guess it is a ranch where Rue was at the beginning of the season, because Rue did say that was the most peace she's ever been at in her life, being in that place, and Ali went there, and it is a very emotional ending where Ali's giving grace, and then there's an open sea at the very end of the table, and we end it with Rue being there. In God we trust, what she says at the final narration. It really did hit me emotionally because again, I deeply care about these characters. This is still going to be one of my favorite shows of all time. The first two seasons are perfect, in my opinion. And even though I was not a fan of season three, it did not kill the show to me. Um, there was still such amazing television in those first two seasons. And there were glimpses of great television in this season. Great moments, as a Zendaya is such an amazing actress. And she absolutely delivered in this episode. Coleman Domingo, another unbelievable actor, delivered a great performance. I thought Sydney Sweeney was great in this season. Alexa Demi is great as Maddie. Hopefully, Alexa Demi, if she chooses to keep working in Hollywood, is in a lot of stuff. She's such a talented actress. Maud Apatow, Hunter Schafer, these are all damn good actresses that, for the most part, Levinson discovered through Euphoria. People forget in 2019 when this show came out, Zendaya was really the only major name attached to the show. And again, she's not nearly as famous as she is now than she was in 2019. Sydney Sweeney, Jacob Elordi, these people were nobodies really in the grand scheme of things back when this show came out. Here we are later, and Sweeney, Zendaya, and Elordi in particular are some of the most famous people in the world, not just in Hollywood, but in the world right now. And the show has come a long way from that. And I don't want to say that season three killed any of my love for the characters, the actors. When they showed behind the scenes, it was emotional when they were showing old scenes from season one and two. Like, not that I grew up with the show. Technically, the first season of the show came out in June of 2019, so it was going into my senior year of high school. But it definitely shaped a lot of my high school life for sure. And the show definitely means the world to me, and I care about the characters a lot. And that's why I come saying what I feel about this season. Um, very much for me, this finale was unsatisfying, very frustrating, even though it had some very high highs. It had a lot more stuff that left me disappointed. I just am against them killing off Rue. I think Rue should have made it, and I think this show should have been a beacon of hope for drug addicts. And I know Levinson's excuse or idea is we want to make a very raw, real show. And yes, do people die of drug addiction? Absolutely. I'm not trying to knock that he wanted to tell that story. And he made a good point, which is like, if maybe I had that amount of fentanyl, the stuff that I was taking back in the day, it would be a lot more now if I was going through addiction now. I probably wouldn't be able to talk to you today if I was going through addiction today. But I thought they should have made this more of a beacon of hope where Rue went through all of this BS throughout the entire season and she made it out. She got out. And I thought that the fact that they killed her after all of that stuff she went through, it was not for me. So I just want to say I'm very thankful that all of you guys kept coming back to my Euphoria spoiler reviews throughout this season. I broke down every episode of season two as well. My channel was not alive when the first season came out, but I broke down every episode of seasons two and three of this show. And I want to say thank you for everyone who's been on this journey with me. 4 years now I've been covering Euphoria, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been here breaking down my spoiler reviews with me. Leave a comment down below. Was this a satisfying ending for you? Was it not? Like this video. Please subscribe to my Patreon, guys. It's definitely going to be a tier for you. You get some bonus stuff that you can't just get here on YouTube. So please, the best way to support me is not just to subscribe. Please subscribe. We're trying to get me to 500 subscribers while subscribe to my Patreon. Thanks for so much for joining me on this Euphoria journey, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon.